Hi everyone, welcome back to Crick Vidya's cricket podcast. After starting off podcasts on IPL and CPL, we now bring to you the second episode of a new series, Cricket Nostalgia, where we go back in time and revisit some of the great matches and moments that shaped the cricketing landscape. So today, as a second episode, we discuss the 2003 World Cup match between India and Pakistan at Super Sports Park Centurion. We have two really special guests, young guests, I must say, with us, Puneet and Abhinav. Puneet is a budding is Puneet is pursuing his MBA and goes by the Twitter handle Flock Sweep, which tells you how that he's definitely from the current generation. And our second young guest is Abhinav, who is a practicing lawyer. Welcome, guys. Hi.
Pleasure
Thank
being
you.
here. Thanks
Uh,
for.
th-
Uh,
Thank you, Asir, for inviting me to your show, the Cricket Vidya's podcast. And it's great to be being nostalgic on this Sunday afternoon about the greatest match, one of the greatest matches of last decade, India versus Pakistan. Thank you so
Fantastic.
much.
Fantastic.
and pleasure being here, Yasir. I mean, I was here on the IPL preview podcast for previewing KKR, so it's again I'm happy to be back here.
Thanks, Abhinav. So, first of all, I would like to start with you, Puneet. What are your early memories of the match? I know you guys are pretty young, so this would be interesting.
If we talk about the early memories, I think I was 7 years old that time, and it was first match Saturday afternoon. I think it was just before Holi. So in those times, whenever there was India-Pakistan match and a World Cup match in afternoon, the shops were closed. No one you can see on the roads and all. So I still remember on the early memories, we the whole family was there in the home watching. I guess at that time I'm from a small city like Gorakhpur, where there's a lot of power cuts. So there was a power cut. I remember, and we used to watch match on inverters, and we were so excited for India Pakistan match. This was the background of that day.
Fantastic. Puneet, what about you, Abhinav?
I, I would have been not I think 8.5 years old, and I was in Delhi at that time. So and like Puneet said, it Saturday the whole of Delhi, I mean at least my locality was in a complete lockdown. Nobody was had stepped out. Shops were shut down and everything because I think after 3 years India is going to play Pakistan in an international cricket game. So I think the excitement was already running quite high, and plus it was a World Cup game, so the tension was magnified into multiples. So yeah, that's one of my earliest memories.
Fantastic. So I will not tell you where what I was doing because that will only show the difference between you and me, both of you and me in age. But I can say you this that it was amazing. I was in a small town and I was trying to track the score because there was frequent power cuts. So I was in a small town in UP trying to get hold of the network or connection so that I can watch the match. And when the match ended, I was so excited that I called five of my friends on the landline, telling them that yeah, we have won the match, and I could hear crackers going off in the background. So it's a fond memory, and I think as we discuss the match going forward, we'll see how important it was for India's next generation, the outcome of this match, and how it changed the tide, perhaps. So,
Yes.
Puneet, I mean, let's start with the backdrop of the match. So, Pakistan wins the toss, and they bat first. And so, can now, what are your first observations from the Pakistan innings, how it started, etc.?
So before we just start about the Pakistan innings, let me tell what was happening in the Pakistani camp. They have played 4 matches and they had lost two and only won two against the two minnows, Holland, and I guess again one against Namibia. So they had to win this match. It was a do and die match because it was a Super Six concept. Only 3 teams had to go into the Super Six. So it was a very important match for them. And on the opposite side, India, after winning the first match against Holland, it was not a very perfect kind of match for India, but they still won it. And the second match against losing heavily against Australia, they were on a very good track. They won back-to-back 3 matches. So for India, it was like if they win this match, their confidence would be high, and then going to the Super Six, they would be among the tops of the group, and they would be high chances for reaching them into semis finals. So for both teams, it was very important match. And when the match started, I was very sure at that time Saeed Anwar was one of the most prolific batsmen of Pakistan cricket, one of the best openers. And the match started. I still remember India had dropped Harbhajan Singh and played Anil Kumble because Anil Kumble had a very great record against Pakistan in one-day internationals. So I think Pakistan started very in a very good fashion with Saeed Anwar scoring a lot of cover drives and his cuts. His cuts were beautiful to watch. I think his cuts and his cover drives. And along with him, I guess Tawfiq Umar started and he also did well. But they lost early wicket after 9th or 10th over. And then Abdul Razzaq at that time used to come at number 3 for Pakistan. And any important matches, they used to send Abdul Razzaq. So they got a very good start. They were, I guess, 90 for 1 after 20 overs, and Saeed Anwar was set. And it looked that they are set. I looked at the set for a good score. Around 250 to 60 would have been a very defending total for that Pakistani bowling lineup, which had 3 very amazing bowlers, one of the best at that time. So I think match was looking like India may find it difficult if Saeed Anwar stays more and gets 100. Then let Abhinav carry on and tell how he saw the innings flourishing in the first 15 overs.
So,
Yeah.
Puneet gave a great introduction. So the change of Kumble being brought in for Harbhajan, as I now see it, I think it was because of he wanted Kumble. Ganguly wanted Kumble's big match experience on the track that was going to provide, and Centurion has this Super Sport track has a very good amount of has a lot of bounce on that track. So
Yeah.
he wanted Kumble to be a few people today, I mean, in the modern day generation, say that he was a supposedly mediocre bowler who did not turn the ball a lot. So Kumble could generate a huge amount of bounce from helpful tracks. So because the track that Super Sport Park track had a little more bounce, and Kumble liked getting more bounce out of a wicket, so which would put a batsman under more pressure. So I think now I see it is to use Kumble's big match experience on that stage. And look, Saeed Anwar never needed a second invitation to score runs against India. He used to feast on the Indian bowlers like wine and cheese for him. And be it that 194 in Chennai in 97 or the 188 not out in Kolkata in 99 in the Test match. So he used to score runs for fun against India. So that day he was in sublime touch. That was one of I think his last tournament in Pakistan colours, his second last game probably, and he was in sublime touch. I mean, the cover drives and the flicks were just flowing like a river for him. He was just timing those out so beautifully. Tawfiq Umar was opening along with him, and he was okay. He didn't. He went off quite early only.
He survived the new ball.
He had to just see off the new ball because Saeed Anwar was scoring at the other end. And during that time, Pakistan in 99 had since 1999 they had been trialing Abdul Razzaq at number 3. They were often using him at number 3 in that 99 World Cup campaign. He was there designated number 3, so he came up and he was doing pretty well. But I think the moment Saeed Anwar got past 100, I think collectively all of us here and India as a whole would have felt boss, he's gotten 100. The ghost of 194 could have come true once again.
Also, if I remember, I still remember that Inzamamul Haq run out. Anil Kumble was the bowler and he went near the gully region and he tried to sneak a single and then he wasn't able to reach his strike. And Pakistan lost two wickets in very good succession. I think the most important was the partnership between Mohammad Yusuf and Saeed Anwar, which was flourishing in the middle overs. And the finishing touches gave the Yunus Khan and Wasim Akram at the end. Wasim and Rashid Latif played beautifully. I still remember at that time, in those times, it was not like players used to hit boundaries, sixes in every over. They used to sneak in two singles on every ball and twos in last overs and one boundary in over. And that used to make 10 over. And
yes.
They used to find the gaps. And it was so good to watch those, just like the way they used to find gaps near the point region or in the playing the flick and the sweep, Rashid Latif's sweep or Wasim Akram's hitting ability was also very good at that point of time. Like in those times, he was a power hitter for me, Wasim Akram. So they finished very well. Pakistan 275 was a very good score. I think it was a very challenging.
Yeah, they scored, I believe, 13 runs of
270.
last over of Ashish Nehra. I think last
Yes.
50th over was by Ashish Nehra, and
Costly
they scored 13 odd runs with two back-to-back boundaries of the last two balls. One interesting thing, I don't know if you guys recall, Saeed Anwar had come to the World Cup team after a gap, and you would remember he had
Yes.
grown up beard and all because he had
Yes.
lost his young daughter to
His daughter. Yes.
young daughter. I mean, recently at that point of time.
At that point of time,
And he had come back with a gap, and he had all that beard, little more conservative. And for me, growing up in 90s, especially, Saeed Anwar was a terror because you imagine in 90s you had he would destroy bowling attacks, opening, playing, scoring at a very fast pace, and at that point of time scoring at 6+ runs an over or maybe 7 or 8 runs per over was unique, and he was an elegant player.
Very.
So for all Indians, especially growing up watching match in 90s, he was a terror, and we had been scarred by so many of his innings growing up. So when for me, though relatively, it was not one of his most fluent innings. That he was an attractive player, but that innings was very attractive, but relatively was not as fluent innings, a little scratchy. I mean, he little by his high standards, but it was a fantastic innings, and 273 at that point of time against with a bowling attack that Pakistan had was a very high score. I mean,
Yes.
People who watch cricket now may feel that 273 is not a big, relatively a huge total, but imagine in 2003 with that bowling attack, though it was aging, was a huge score.
You made a very interesting point. I was going to say that, like, though they were aging, like a lot of naysayers say that, like at that time, people if you look into the hindsight, Pakistan, Wasim and Waqar, even though they were not in their prime, their best bowler was Shoaib Akhtar. So some people say that Pakistan, even though they scored 274 at that time, it was very difficult to chase against them. But since they didn't have Wasim and Waqar in their prime, this thing that I think it made it easy for India. They didn't bowl in good line length. But we'll continue in the second part of the innings. Let's keep it.
I think here's the thing. I mean, age. Despite the fact that both Wasim and Waqar were on the wrong side of the 30s and were quite close to their retirement. I mean, but that age comes also comes the increased amount of skill, and Wasim is still the most skillful left arm pacers going around at that time. I think he till date, I think if we ask any young fast bowler who's coming through, they would always say, especially a left-arm fast bowler, they would always say that they looked at Wasim Akram as their idol. Even today, I mean, and his mystery was it's still an enduring mystery of how he managed to just get the reverse. I mean, with the white ball, getting the reverse swing, the in-swinging Yorkers and all, how he managed to do that. I think his experience, what he may not have had in terms of his with the age, he more than had the experience and the guile to put the Indian batting order under serious trouble. I mean, with that pitch, he would have been a handful on that pitch.
Yeah, I mean, I remember, and I think if you ask most batsmen of that era, they will say the most skillful bowler that they have faced is Wasim Akram. And from that small run-up, he would get that whiplash kind of action and still bowl. I mean, I was recently seeing even in his close to retirement, he was bowling in high 130s. So that just showed you the level of skill and all. Any other feedback, any other rather memory that you have from the Pakistan innings?
One is, I think, Inzamam's run out, and I think it was that World Cup where he went in a bid to be more contributive and agile on the field. He lost what I think 18 or 19 kgs of he lost 19 kgs of weight, and he scored less than that. He scored 17 runs in his entire World Cup, and the sight of a very stick thin Inzamam was very, very disconcerting for us who had grown up with the image that he was on a little heavier side. So that was a very disconcerting image for me personally. But yeah, I mean, the finish that time, that time Rashid Latif was a very nuggety batsman. The sort of in a bit of a Parthiv Patel who could get under your skin if he
Cheeky
just
player.
sticks.
Uh,
Get under your skin type wala batsman. I mean, if he just
he was
sticks
a
around.
he was a manipulator of the field. He used to find gaps very well. What I have seen of Rashid
Exactly.
Latif, he was a very good manipulator.
He would play the percentages of a cricket field very, very well. In fact, he was a very crafty batsman in that regard. He could find the smallest of gaps and maybe sneak a single or a double or sneak a boundary through those smallest of the barest of gaps you would find. So I think, and his innings at the end was critical, and unfortunately, I think he got pinged on the head by a bouncer, and that meant he could not come out
Yeah.
to keep
Exactly.
for the second innings. And Tawfiq Kumar had to take the gloves. In my living memory, for the first time, I saw a different Pakistani wicketkeeper taking the gloves other than either Rashid or Moeen Khan.
That's an interesting point, Abhinav, because both Rashid and Moin, I think especially Moin, were excellent at playing those cameos where they would score very crucial 20, 30 runs very quickly.
Huh.
And not it was they would not be power innings, but there would be innings with a lot of singles, twos, boundaries here and there, a sweep here, and deflections, etc., etc. And you would see suddenly they have scored 30 of 24, 25 balls, and that would be the difference between a winning total and between
And
a
losing.
average total and a match winning total.
Yes.
And like you rightly said, I also have a strong memory of Zahir Khan. I think it was that pinged Rashid Latif on the helmet, and I think he continued batting, but he didn't come
Yes.
for the second innings. So, but overall, 273, like you guys rightly said, was a huge total with that bowling lineup. So, what did I mean? If you guys can recall, what did you feel, or any memories of middle of the innings when India was about to come to bat? What were you guys feeling, Puneet?
Okay, so I remember this thing that it was an evening now after the innings has ended. It was 5 o'clock, and in small towns at times in 5 o'clock, anyone comes from the neighbor for in those time. So after the innings was ended, my father said that against this bowling attack, even though India has won their last 3 matches against Pakistan, it would be very difficult, and today India is going to lose. He was being very pessimistic. So I remember this what my father said at that time. So this I remember. I was a kid, so I at that time didn't have that much idea about how good that Pakistani bowling lineup was. I was 7 years old, so I thought yeah it would be difficult. But I said one thing, Papa Sachin hai na. So he was like yes he is the only man. He is the man. I said he is the man. He said वो अगर चल गया अगर वो खेल गया तो if he plays for 10-15 overs then we will win the match. So I have this memory after the middle of the innings.
Abhinav?
I wasn't the most confident guys around because I had been watching a bit of cricket around that time, and knowing India's being a little suspect under pressure in big matches, I was a little hesitant to think, yeah, whether we'll be able to chase down 273, ho payega ya nahi, and also I was a little skeptical, but I think, but the NatWest Trophy final kind of gave me a hope that this time around there is a chance that we may chase it down because there's a little more batting skill news that India had at that time than they did before 2000 at least.
Actually, you said the right thing. Before that match, we had won 2 matches chasing 325 against West Indies in Ahmedabad just after the NatWest. So we had that confidence of chasing that time. So I remember. So that's why I think we Indians as a whole had that confidence, even though because we were playing against Pakistan, that bowling attack, we were not sure it was a World Cup match. But we have become a decent chasing side after winning that 2 back-to-match and more confident in our side that we can chase big scores.
Exactly. with Yuvraj, Kaif, and that with Dravid keeping, which which there is an interesting conversations typically that Dravid and Ganguly have about his keeping, but with his keeping, there was a depth in the batting. It was not very dependent on Tendulkar as it used to be, let's say, earlier.
In the 90s.
90s. Okay, so now we come to the Indian innings, and I want you guys to start with your first impressions, and most importantly, that six that Tendulkar hit of Shoaib Akhtar. So Puneet, we'll start with you.
That six is, I guess, one of the most iconic six of all time. The most amazing, the most iconic. Even Rohit Sharma, when he hit that six against Hassan Ali in Manchester last year, he was not able to match that icon moment with Sachin hitting Shoaib Akhtar, I guess, or Waqar. I guess it was Shoaib Akhtar. Shoaib Akhtar. Waqar, Sehwag hit on Waqar. So I guess it was the second over. I think first over was a 4-5 run over, and Sachin just hitting that six. It set the tone for the match. The six he hit Shoaib Akhtar, next ball the full length ball, Sachin flicked it, and it went for a 4. After that six, he first ball which he hit first six was a short ball offside off. It went for a 6. Second ball, Shoaib Akhtar tried to pitch it on the full length, and Sachin just flicked it on a pace of 152-4. It's totally set the tone of the match. I think it was one of the most iconic sixes. I still have seen it around 100 times at least. That six. That's the one of the best moments.
Abhinav?
One of the first indicators that I felt that this could be there could be something massive in the offing was that Sachin was taking strike at the start of the innings, and Sachin, I think we all, those of us who've grown up watching cricket in the 90s and watching Sachin open in one days, he would never be taking first strike. He would never take first strike, even when he would open with either Sidhu or Prabhakar or Jadeja, Dada and all. He would never be taking first strike. So the fact that he was for the big occasion against Wasim, he was taking the first strike, maybe to try and ensure that Sehwag, who was going to face Akram probably for the first time, does not get have the newcomers jitters against Wasim. He took the first strike, and I remember the shot he played on the third ball of the first over, just standing on his toes and a back foot punch through covers. I mean, that was a very that kind of the back foot punch that Sachin played, no cricketer can in the modern day era can play that shot. I mean, it was a reaffirmation of the mastery he had on his craft, that he could ride the bounce so beautifully and just with not the most extravagant follow throughs or anything, or exerting too much power. He could just he could just place the ball and use the pace of that delivery to get a 4. So I remember that, and then of course the sequence of those 4th, 5th, and 6th deliveries of the second over, that 6 over third man by against Shoaib. I mean, I think the defining memory of the modern day rivalry in India-Pakistan cricket. I think that shot essentially set the entire tone of the match and made it was like a chilling message down to the Pakistani bowling attack at that day, that they were not going to be able to take this game away from India at any rate. And that was a very chilling statement of intent. The way it was a shot of utter magnificence, because I mean, the ball delivered at 150, I think, just over 150 Ks, and just again Tendulkar's mastery, just going on his toes and just freeing his arms out. That was a beautiful shot. I think even today that shot is replayed thousands and millions of times over on YouTube. Then that flick that he played off through square leg, again, just the typical shot that as they say, the second of the Tendulkar trademark, the flick through the square leg. So that was a beautiful shot. And it's a shot that almost every Indian today plays. That's almost like a release shot, that a ball coming down leg, just flick it off towards square leg and get a 4. And then that third, I think the best of the lot was the third boundary hit that he had. Just just a simple block. He just blocked the ball straight down the ground. I mean, and the ball blasted off, tore through the infield for four. I mean, that was a beautiful shot. I mean, it was beautiful for the balance that he had on that of that straight drive. I mean, it was nothing more than a defensive push. It was nothing more than a defensive push because there was no follow through, no nothing, no power, extra power that Tendulkar was exerting. It was just that it meant the connection that he got with the sweet spot of his bat was so clean that it just blazed through the mid-on fielder for four. I mean, you could, and when that happens, there's nothing that a bowler can do. No fast bowler in the world will be able to do anything about that.
Exactly. A lot of people talk about Tendulkar's straight drives, but more than the straight drive, it was this leg side play that he had, which would give him the initial couple runs or maybe even a four. And that was actually the Sachin trademark. And you're right, for a man of his stature, playing through those punches through the offside was something unique, and you don't see shots like those being played. So the Indian innings, and we will talk about that, the significance and I call that Sachin six an inflection point, and I think we'll come to it once we near the later part of this podcast, where I think how it changed or transformed the rivalry completely. But so India started off on a blazing note. We were 53 for no loss. And then you had those two back-to-back wickets by Waqar. And so just tell me, what were you thinking? Because I for one have had this, because again, watching cricket in the late 80s and maybe 90s, that Pakistan is a team that they will suddenly, their fast bowling will produce magic. You think you're in a dominating or a daunting position, but suddenly you can lose wickets and then you end up losing the match. So this is that tradition or the reputation that Pakistanis had come with, and especially Waqar and Wasim. So what was your thought process when India lost those two quick back-to-back wickets, Puneet?
So when India lost those two wickets, Sehwag and Ganguly and Wasim in the same over, Waqar took it. I think that we would be in a pressure. To be very honest, Mohammad Kaif was sent and we never know what's going to happen. But since Sachin was in sublime knock, I just want to add something which I wanted to say before those wickets. That offside punch which you guys were talking, I think for me it was the best shot of the match of Wasim Akram. Even though those shot is the six is the most iconic one, but I have never seen any modern day player playing those kind of shots so like with so perfectionist way, the way Sachin plays it, the way he played in that match. So, and I guess after India lost those two wickets, he played those two punches again to Wasim Akram, one and one against Abdul Razzaq.
Yes.
He and when you saw Sachin like that, it's totally almost over for. It was, I thought that it was over for Pakistan, because it never happened in those days. India lost two wickets and still we were just bashing those Pakistani bowlers.
Exactly.
We used to go for a just play very defensive cricket.
Go back to the shelf.
Go back to the shelf and take it deep. But the way Sachin was batting, he was hitting those fours, and it was not like those were bad deliveries. Those were decent deliveries. But the way he was in his best. Those punches, those cover drives, those straight drives, and when Abdul Razzaq dropped the catch of Wasim Akram's delivery, and he came in front. He was on mid-on. He came in front, and when he dropped the catch, I knew it is over for Pakistan. They are totally down and out. And after of the way Sachin batted, I think, and that's how we were 100. We just scored 112th over. I think we had such a strong start. We had 112th over, and the way Sachin was batting, I was pretty sure that now I got the confidence that we are going to win this match.
So for me, when those two wickets fell down, I mean, as a kid, I was suddenly thinking, boss, two wickets down, things, I mean, and this is Pakistan. So they know the art of coming back into a match in a flash. They know how to turn matches around in a matter of moments. So those two wickets, and especially the Ganguly delivery. I mean, Sehwag was being Sehwag. He just had a bit of a casual waft, and he got snaffled up at cover. And then the delivery that got Ganguly was a beautiful delivery by Waqar. I mean, full of it was hostile pace, and it wrapped him straight on the pad. There was no questions. I mean, there was never going to be second thoughts in the minds of an umpire to give it LBW in the pre-DRS era. And I was a little surprised to see CAF actually come out, because I think around that time in the previous games we had seen Dinesh Mungia being sent in at number 4. So I mean, seeing Mohammad Kaf walk out at 4, I think it was a bit of a surprise, but actually a great move in hindsight, because what Kaf started to do was because Sachin was hitting the boundary so consistently, he was pushing the field out. He was constantly getting the field to push out and try and save the boundaries. What Cash started to do was that he was taking the number of singles that he was doing, he was bringing the field in. So I mean, that was the beauty of having somebody like a Mohammad Kaf, because they were brilliant. Kaf was a beautiful manipulator of the field. He could take a single with a bunch of singles. He could start manipulating the field, especially if there's a batsman at the other end who's getting his runs in boundaries, because then the fielding side just becomes confused whether should we push in to save the single, or should we spread out to try and cut out the boundary. So that was a beautiful partnership that Kaf and Sachin had, and it gave Sachin the stable partner that he needed at that time, because the innings, it was a very crucial point of the innings, that 53 for 2 in I think 5.4 overs at that time. So it was not and Pakistan still had a very good bowling attack, and we still had the scoreboard pressure to contend with. So I think it was a great move by India, by Ganguly, and the right to send Kaf in at number 4 to try and get the strike rotating and just confuse the Pakistani fielders around. And then of course Abdul Razak had his "you just dropped the World Cup mic" moment and I think it was a huge error, misjudgment, because had he stayed at the end of the circle, that was a dolly.
Yeah.
I think why Abdul Razak came in front, because I think before Kaf they were more inside the circle. Because when Kaf was batting, I think he didn't notice that Sachin was batting. I think some misjudgment from his side, and it resulted into a very a huge loss of Pakistan. And also, I just wanted to say one thing. I think the match ended in the power play, 15-over power play itself. Sachin ended the match in 15 overs. We were already 125, and I think after that it was very difficult for Pakistan to come back. So it was totally great sight to see.
I have just one more thing to add. When Ganguly came to strike, I remember Waqar Younis bringing in the third slip very late into the, before he was bowling very late. He said he brought in the third slip, and I think that was maybe a sort of a signal to tell Ganguly that it will be that delivery will move away from you. But instead, it was an in-swinging delivery from Waqar that trapped him LBW. So there was definitely planning which went into it. And I remember, I mean, now if we look at the Sachin innings, which was possibly one of his best non-100 innings that you can say that he has played. I remember, I think it was Sanjay Manjrekar who was on commentating when he got his 50 on a overthrow.
Yes.
And he celebrated by showing his punch that, yes, I got a 50. And Manjrekar said, usually he reserves this for a century. So this just tells you how much it means to him. So any other thought you have on the Sachin innings? I mean, he got out to a snorter from Shoaib Akhtar, but any other thing you would like to add on his innings?
So okay.
Let Abhinav continue.
Okay, so I was reading. I think in Sachin's autobiography, he mentioned that when the fixtures were announced sometime a year before sometime a year before the World Cup in 2002, the match was already being talked about by people around him. They were saying, "Ki, boss, you have to do well against Pakistan. You have to do well against Pakistan." As is the thing when you tell a lot of the of Indian cricketers at that time that boss, किसी के against भी don't do well against any other team, but you have to do well against Pakistan.
World Cup मत जीतो, लेकिन पाकिस्तान को
हराना जरूरी है. And mentioned that for 12 days straight before the game, he was not getting sleep. So I think, and that innings basically, I mean, he transferred his lack of sleep onto the Pakistani attack for years to come. I think years and generations to come, because he just ensured that they would not be getting sleep for, I think not for that night at least, but for many years at least. Because I think it was a beautiful inning. That was the last I think we saw of Tendulkar, the godly aggressor. After that, he became the consolidator and the aggregator of the innings. He would consolidate and play the percentage game. He started playing the percentage game in the later phase of his career. I mean, and once a while he would bring out the aggressor, the old aggressor the old aggressor of 25 years old, the 25-year-old Sachin, into the mind of of a 38-year-old guy. He would bring those innings out. I mean, be it that 175 against Australia in 2009 at Hyderabad, or against New Zealand in Christchurch and all. He would have those innings in the middle that would remind us that the aggressor still hasn't gone away.
Right.
Just that he's masked it within a body of a experienced consolidator who would be able to play the percentages of the field and the opponent on that day as per his calculations.
Right.
So that was the last we saw of Tendulkar as the mega aggressor that could decimate the bowling attack in a matter of moments. I mean, you give him half a chance, he would give him even a quarter of a chance, he would take the whole away from you. So I think that was the last we saw of his aggressor. But I think it was. I mean, and if it indeed was the last, I think there would be a few people who would have a few comments to say about that. It was a glorious last of the Tendulkar, the aggressor, the aggressive batsman phase.
Yes, rightly said by Abhinav. Like Sachin's knock of 98 was, I think, the most aggressive knock you would have ever seen Sachin play. I have seen, because he must have played in 90s. But I have seen Sachin playing. I have never seen playing such an aggressive knock ever. And what decimates opposition? The thing that decimates opposition is when the bowlers were not bowling that bad balls, but the batsman is just dominating the bowlers.
Yes.
The kind of shots which he played, I think a lot of players can play aggressive cricket and score runs of 40 ball 70 or 40 ball 80. But the way Sachin played in that knock was like he was just decimating the opposition, which is the kind of shots. Like his punches, his flicks, his straight drives, his cover drives, and everything. So this is what decimated the knock, and that's why, according to me, Sachin's one of the best one-day national knocks ever. It's not 100, it's not a 175 which he played in Hyderabad, even though it was also a very good knock. It's a great knock, or it's 163 in Christchurch, or it's double 100. But his 98 in Centurion, for me, would remain the most special knock. In the words of Mike Haseman, when he hit that punch to Wasim Akram, the way little master. Do you remember the commentary of Mike Haseman?
I remember Robin Jackman. Robin Jackman.
Robin Jackman and Mike Haseman both.
My goodness.
Yeah.
No, Mike Haseman was little master. Robin Jackman went, yeah. Goodness me.
Both of them. And the way also after the power play, also it's not like Sachin just started accumulating after the power play. He was dominating after the power play as well. He was playing those inside outs to Shahid Afridi, and Shahid Afridi was not being able to settle in those 2-3 overs which he bowled, and Waqar has to call in Shoaib Akhtar again for his second spell, and unluckily he got the wicket on that very fast, pacey shot delivery. Otherwise, I think Sachin was set for 130, 140 not out, and we were going to win the match in 40 overs itself.
Exactly. So this is a crucial, like you guys said, a crucial innings, because I think after 2003 to 2007 there was a period of slump in Tendulkar's, in terms of the kind of returns that we expected or he was providing. And I mean, then there was a second wind which came in after 2007. But yeah, this was one of those last crucial aggressive innings that he played. So now Tendulkar goes out. There are 100 odd runs. Typically, having been brought up again to the 90s.
Tendulkar out, India out.
Yeah, and you would feel that, okay, now 100 odd runs, you are you are not sure. There is just Dinesh Mongia after Dravid and Yuvraj, and this Pakistan bowling lineup. Anything can happen. But it was a amazing partnership in the sense that Yuvraj continued with his free-flowing scoring while Dravid was holding one end up. So, I mean, what are your views on that partnership which brought us the victory?
Also, so you made a very important point, like how Yuvraj was very free flowing in his knock. India was 178 for 4. We needed 100 more runs to win. And most of the times, what we will used to do, we will take it deep and we will try to take it to the last over and we'll try to finish it off. But what happened in that match was uh, every Indian batsman was totally aggressive. The way Yuvraj was playing those cover drives on the ball of Shoaib Akhtar and the way he batted, I was totally in awe of him in that knock. Yuvraj Singh played a very important knock. I think if India would have lost Yuvraj Singh at that same point of time, we would have been in trouble for sure. I think the partnership and Dravid was the proper anchor which we needed in those middle overs, anchor come finisher. So I think that 100 run partnership between both of them was very important for in the course of match. And Pakistan had that slight zip to come back after India lost the wicket of Sachin. I think the way they both batted, they totally gave it away in the after 3-4 overs, and then we saw some brilliant, amazing cover drives and straight drives from Yuvraj Singh. It's at such a young age.
So that partnership in a way for me was again exactly how the Tendulkar CAF partnership was playing out, where Yuvraj was being the aggressor. He was pushing the field back with by getting a lot of boundaries through his cover drives and hits through mid wicket, while Dravid was constantly bringing the field in because he was rotating the strike very well. I mean, I think one of his, Dravid remains one of the most underappreciated one-day batsmen of his time. I think for anybody to have played more than 300 games and gotten more than 10,000 runs at an average of just around 40, I mean, it really isn't a joke. And that I think was one of Dravid's best innings, which wasn't a 50 or a 100 or something. It was one of his best innings because he was just calculating, being the because around that time he's now around after 2002, the moment he was handed the gloves, I think it just brought a change in Dravid's own thinking as a one-day batsman, that he started playing the first proper finisher, becoming the proper finisher that India needed at that time before MS would step into the breach in 2004-5. So I think it was a beautiful knock from Dravid because he was calculatively pushing the Pakistanis, the match further away from Pakistan, especially at the time when they would have had a scent to try and get India on the back foot even further because after Tendulkar's dismissal. So I think it is a beautiful knock from Dravid. I mean, he played a very sensible, level-headed and mature innings that was needed at that time to complement to the aggression that Yuvraj was showing with his stroke play. So I think it was a beautiful knock from Dravid, and I think that partnership essentially was the mirror image to the Dravid to the Sachin CAF partnership, where they were where Pakistan had the first bit of a blow to try and get back into the match.
I always say that Dhoni molded his game or his finishing game after seeing Dravid, the way Dravid played in that 2002-2006 period. Those 4 years period, I see Dhoni totally molded his game according to Dravid's gameplay and became a better version, which is power hitting. So I think Dravid was a proper finisher for India in those times.
Yeah, so I think that was a crucial partnership which brought us the victory, and we, we we sometimes forget the crucial innings that Yuvraj played and why he was so critical for us in the middle order, late middle order,
Exactly.
because he scored 50 odd runs at run a ball without
Hmm.
being very aggressive, and that never put the run rate pressure on the team. I mean, any other player, it is difficult to say, but yeah, would possibly have not scored at such a run rate. So
Yes.
this was an amazing victory. I mean, for so many reasons. Now, I want to take you guys to the final section of
Hmm.
this podcast, which is the impact of this victory on Indian-Pakistan rivalry. Now, okay, so for me, especially after the six, that Miadad hit in '86, you could say that the Pakistan team was traditionally stronger than the Indian team, while obviously India has had success against them in the ICC and the World Cup events. But as a team, man to man, you could possibly say that Pakistan team was the better team, was the more dominating and a successful team. And for me, that and from that '86 to 2003 period, because of the bowling attack and the aggressive batting, they obviously did very well. But for me personally, that six changed the tide, and it is from then on, possibly you can say that gradually, and now obviously you can see that India is a much better team than Pakistan. So, what are your views on this match, and how do you think it shaped the Indian-Pakistan rivalry?
uh, I just you made a very great point, Yasser. Like I wanted to say the same thing. Like that that six of Javed Mirdad of Chetan Sharma. After that, we rarely used to win against Pakistan in Sharjah. We never won. We totally decimated Indian team after that six, and after 86 to 2003 in Sharjah, whenever we used to play against Pakistan, we were almost sure that we would always lose.
Especially
Now
on Fridays.
yes, on Fridays. Now how can one six change the course of
Yes.
everything? That Sachin six, which hit on Shoaib, it totally decimated the Pakistani attack. Before that, also we have won against Pakistan in World Cups, but we won against Pakistan in '92 World Cup, but Pakistan won the World Cup. So the scars of that match weren't so like long term. And even in '96, I agree we won against Pakistan, and in '99 they reached the finals. But in this 2003 World Cup match against India, which was a do and die match for Pakistan, that six where they were so desperate to win against us, it was so much high pressure match, and that six of Sachin totally decimated them. And after that, what we saw, India first time became favorites against Pakistan in any
Yes.
bilateral series.
Yes.
After that, they never matched us. In the next series, and we played in 2004, and after that, we always became the favorites against Pakistan. So Pakistan was never able to match Indian team after that. So that is what I feel how important that six and that innings by Sachin, that we became a superior side in Pakistan, and after that I guess we have a 60% record win against them in last 17 years. Before that, it was like 52 wins for Pakistan and 29 for India. So how we have made it so close.
Like Puneet and you, Yasser, brilliantly pointed out, that Javed Miandad six of Chetan Sharma in '86, it was like a scar. It scarred India for a better part of a decade. I mean, better part of a decade and a half, because uh, it's very hard to forget memories of a six being hit of a last ball of what was, I think, a final. It was a league stage game.
Final.
It is a finals. So at that time, so
Australasia Cup, I guess.
yes,
And-
the Australasia Cup finals.
And Abhinav, just to give the context, six now has a different premium to six being hit in '86.
Yes.
It was much more rare to hit a six
Yes.
then. I mean, now you have last ball sixes, but six
Huh.
then was very rare.
It was a very rare occurrence. So that was like a scar that affected the mindset of the Indian team for a better part of decade and a half. So I think that the six that Sachin hit of Shoaib was basically that it was basically the point at which the tide of the India-Pakistan rivalry in cricket was turning. I mean that it was, and even that day on the field, I mean, India was much sharper on the field that day. I mean, thanks to the fact that they realized that they were quicker to move ahead with the succession planning for the likes of facing the likes of Kef, facing out the likes of Azhar and all, for bringing guys like Yuvraj and Kef into the team, and having a much more improved fast bowling attack at that time. I think it was a sign that India was getting to the grips of cricket in the 21st century, and in no small part to John Wright, in fact, who brought in a different sense of professionalism to Indian cricket's approach in the 21st century. Because otherwise, the changes that India had after 2000, 2001, that those would never have happened. So I think that six was the point at which the tide of the India-Pakistan rivalry is turned, and that that six is basically the scar that Pakistan, that
Now
the whole of Pakistan now has,
Correct.
and it'll be difficult for them to remove that. I mean, the Champions Trophy final of
Doesn't it not?
2017, all those are one-offs.
Yeah.
Those are now one-offs. In the 90s, our World Cup victories were treated as a
One-off.
one-off victories because we could
Yes,
not
yes.
win
These
them
are
on a
one-offs.
regular basis.
Exactly.
I mean, the Jadeja 22 turnover, those were treated as one-offs
Yeah. Yeah.
at that time. So now the champions, like Miandad, for a Miandad 6 of 86, read Sachin 6 or Shoaib for 2003.
Exactly.
Those are the points at which the rivalries had turned, because I think until 86, India and Pakistan relatively would be well matched. I mean, while Pakistan would win a lot of the games, but they were still competitive enough. After 86 till 2003, the rivalry turned decisively one way in favor of Pakistan, because they obviously had the better side in every department of the game. They were much better in terms of fast bowling, especially, and they had the batsmen who could, on their day, could just turn the paint the texture of a match in a flash. They could turn the. I mean, like they had the Mavericks of Javed Miandad, Salim Malik, and at that time Mudassar Nazar would score runs for. I mean, for Mudassar Nazar of 80s, who would score runs for fun against India, and Zahir Abbas, Anwar was in the 90s.
Right.
So I think it was a point that Sachin 6 was a point at which the rivalry had turned decisively. Like for Pakistan, for them now, getting a victory against India is a big thing for them. While we for us, it's become a second nature that we can beat them at any stage, at any point.
Exactly. So this was perfectly captured by both Abhinav and Puneet as to how the game panned out, and then how this match and the six especially had an impact on the rivalry. So thank you guys for joining us on this cricket nostalgia. I'm sure the listeners will be transported back to those 2003 events, and hope to see you guys soon again. Thanks, guys.
Pleasure being here, Yasser, and hopefully everybody would be able to recapture the match through our eyes once again.
I'm sure. Thanks, Puneet. Thanks,
Thank you, Yasser. It was a pleasure to be on the show.